They say the purpose that you've got 2 ears is that when we talk, you put it through one and you let it out the other. And that's not so good. I mean, for us, not good, not so good. But we have what you call selective hearing. And I pray when you come to church that you use both those orifices that God gave you, those ears. Okay? I have a special message for you this morning. I don't know what the Lord's doing with me. Is sending me back to school. I mean, that's what it is. Because every time I pick up His Word, I tend to get schooled to the point where I've even judged all my past. I've even judged the way I thought before, the way I enacted my life before. And now when I see what God is saying, I'm starting to think, man, was there all that stuff totally incorrect? Have I done the wrong thing? And the one thing that I notice, even as I learn every single day, is that there's a tendency for us, we are being bombarded. And I want you to keep your eyes and your ears open. We are being bombarded by the media. It's telling us of all the modern things that are coming at us at such a powerful pace. And last night, I had to do some rethinking. What would the gospel look like in the year 2030? Because what the futuristic men that are predicting today, they're predicting in 2030. 2030 was, where are we now at the moment? 2018. In 2030, artificial intelligence would be the order of the day. One person said that they will be able to put a little chip into your, or put a little circuit in your body, and it will actually go in and transform cells. Those cells that degenerate as you get older will be able to stop degenerating. Now listen to where they're going with this. They say, by that thing, you'll be able to be immortal. Isn't that so? So that's the stuff that's coming into. And then I heard Charles Spurgeon. He says it so clearly. And he says, you know, gone are the days when there were the leaders of the flock, the shepherds, were actually feeding the flock. Now you have more of these jokers coming to entertain the flock. More of these comedians. And that is why the clear word of God will not prevail in your lives, because of this kind of itchiness that you have in your ear to listen to that kind of doctrine. Okay? So I'm just paving the way forward for us this morning, because God has laid lots of stuff on my heart, and I think we've got another 3-part series coming. Brace yourself. I'm going to try and see if we can do it today. Okay? Now I'm going to start with an illustration. Okay, since you guys are looking a bit somber, can I just quickly entertain you first? There was this guy in America that was reading about this great tightrope walker. You know what a tightrope walker is? Somebody who walks on a rope, on a tightrope, balances, and he doesn't fall on it. So he read about this Frenchman that was doing so well. And so what he did was, he decided to call this guy. And he said, I've heard about all your expertise. I've heard about all your escapades. How you climbed on this rope and walked across buildings. But I will give you $1 million if you will come to America and walk across the Niagara Falls. And so this man decided, I think I'll take up this opportunity. So the Frenchman responded, not a problem, I'll be there, tell me when. And so this grandiose event was organized, and so does this Frenchman pick up his appointment, and he's there at the Niagara Falls, and crowds gathered all over. And he starts to walk the tightrope, balancing on a mere pole. And everybody screams and get excited. And he walks across. Then he goes across and he picks up a wheelbarrow. And he decides that he's going to carry this wheelbarrow on the tightrope. How many of you are sitting on the tightrope at the moment? Waiting whether this guy's going to fall or not. And so he starts to push this wheelbarrow on the tightrope. And lo and behold, there's the American waiting with a suitcase full of $1,000 on the other side, hoping that this guy would never make it on the other side. And so he pushes this wheelbarrow, and he makes it. Lo and behold, he makes it to the other end. And when he makes it to the other end, this American is astounded. He says, man, I just cannot believe that you did that feat across the Niagara Falls. I mean, this is just unbelievable. The Frenchman says, so now do you believe? Because when you called me, you said you cannot believe. And then this guy says, but man, you know what? You walked all that expanse. Firstly with a bar, with a pole, and now you walked with a wheelbarrow. And you didn't fall off. The guy says, sorry, sir. Do you believe? And the man says, man, the crowds are cheering you. You've done such a great thing. And the man says, sir, now do you believe? And the man realized that this man was stopping him in his tracks. Gives an answer. He says, yes, now I believe that you did it. So he turned around and he says, the Frenchman turned around to the Englishman, to the American, and says, well, now that you believe, I want you to climb on the wheelbarrow. We're going across. So this morning, I'm going to speak on a similar kind of subject. I'm going to speak on the elongated part of that subject, which is faith, and I'm going to call it faithful with a little. Say to neighbor, faithful with a little. There was a signboard in a shop window. And it read, boy wanted. Have you seen some of those signs? Have you seen some of those signs in shops, and you see downstairs there's some sign, there's a notice board there, room wanted, or I have a room to rent. Boy wanted. So young John Simmons thought, though he was lazy, thought he needed to apply for this job. So he goes to the owner, which is Mr. Peters, and he says to me, Mr. Peters, you know, I'm looking for this job and I see you have a job. Can I apply? And so Mr. Peters said to him, well, no problem. You can start. When can you start? He said, I can start now. He says, off you go. I want you to climb into the attic. And when you get into the attic, you're going to find a long box, a trunk. And inside, there's lots of junk. There's lots of junk. But there's also in that box very valuable stuff. So, we being a hardware store, that's where we want to start first. We want to be able to clear the clutter, and then we want to be able to salvage what is saleable. And so what they do, what John Simmons does, he climbs up the ladder, gets into the attic, and it was cold, dark, and dingy. And when he opened the box, he saw lots of junk. And he realized for the amount of pay that this Mr. Peters was paying, it was not worth the money and then the time and the torture up there in the attic. So what he decided to do, he climbed down the stairs. He said to him, well, look, you know what, and when Mr. Peters says, are you done? He says, no, sir, but it was dark and cold up there. And I didn't think that that work was worth doing. There's lots of junk. Why don't you throw everything away? So he was apparently paid the daily rate for work that he did not do, and he was told not to come again. The next day, there was a sign in the window. It said, boy wanted. And so he gets Mr. Peters receives the next boy. And it was Crawford Hill. He was next to be employed. And when he was asked to do the same chore, he gladly marched up the stairs, got into this dark and dingy attic, and he opened the box and he saw lots of junk. And he decided to separate, according to the task, he separated all the junk from what was saleable items. And then what he did was, as he got through the pile of rubbish, he found right at the bottom of the trunk was a $20 note. And he climbed downstairs and he rushed up to Mr. Peters and said to him, sir, I am done. And he holds up the $20 notes. At last, the store owner, Mr. Peters, discovered a conscientious boy that he could entrust this business, when he retired. So years later, somebody asked Mr. Peters, whilst he was in retirement, tell me about your successor. And this is what he says. You see, this young man, who's now my successor, found his fortune in a junk box. How much did he find? Did he find $20? He found his fortune in a junk box. Then, correcting himself, he added, he adjusted himself, and Mr. Peters said this after that. No, he actually found it in his mother's Bible. Found the fortune in his mother's Bible. Because he heeded the verse which made him memorize, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. So I decided, when I stumbled across that illustration, I decided already on Wednesday that I'm going to speak on this subject. And then by the end of the week, I suddenly felt implored that I needed to go in and see exactly what God wanted me to say and why He wanted to say that. So I did the first test, and during the week, I'd obviously called a few kids together and I said, right, I'm going to appoint the new drummer in the church. Alex, don't worry about your job. Where you? I'm going to appoint the new drummer in the church. So I want you kids who's interested coming. And so I invited them on Saturday. And so Priyanka was the only one that was here. And she said, I'm too nervous. The whole week she's been telling her mother, I'm too scared. When I got in the car, I said, how are you feeling, Priyanka? I'm afraid. And I said, well, what are you afraid about? I don't know how to play the drums. And so what I did was I said, well, did you just realize that I'm about to appoint you as the first girl drummer in this church? And I tell you what, if you throw somebody in that kind of deep end, it's enough to kill them, let alone them being afraid. So the poor child was terrified when she was looking at me through my rearview mirror. Number one, it was impossible for somebody who didn't have any experience to play the drums. Number two, when somebody tells you the pressure's on, when somebody tells you that you're going to be appointed as the first girl drummer in this church, it's enough to send you reeling and maybe jump off a moving car at that time. I hope she didn't do that. And so, but she was faithful with how much? How much? She was faithful with nothing. I don't know if you're getting my message this morning. I'll give you the theology just now, but I want you to understand it in reality. She was faithful with nothing. She had nothing. And I said, are you ready to come and play the drums? She looked even more terrified. And I said, well, you're going to be the next girl drummer. The one thing I want to say, and I want to give you credit this morning, because it's going to enhance what I'm going to say to the rest of you. Brother Eddie, I've picked up people, you and your family, I've picked up people for this past 16 years in my ministry. Sometime or the other, I picked up people. But never have I seen more faithfulness come out of your family. Never. I'm talking from big to small. I see Liam walking that kilometer to come and meet me at the gates. That's how far you guys walk, eh? It's a long way from where you stay to the gates. But you are never, really never late. Always faithful. How much do you have? I've waited at gates and I've waited. I promise you, I love signs and wonders. And I've seen signs and wonders of every shape and size. People are showing signs from the window. I'm sitting in the car and wondering. But you know what? Faithful with little. One of these days, God's going to give you your own vehicle. God's going to give you a house close to the gate. Amen. Hello? Amen. Why? Because you realize something this morning. That when God entrusts you with little, surely He's going to give you much more. I'm going to show you that through the text this morning. But just hang in there. I want you to turn to Luke chapter 16, verse 10. He that is faithful in a very little is faithful also in... Sorry? Can you underline that word much? And he that is he that is unrighteous in a very little is unrighteous in... Can you see that? Then I want you to turn to Luke chapter 12, verse 42 and 44. By the time we're done, your faithfulness is going to come into question. Some of you are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it was not by design. I didn't come to make you uncomfortable. Neither did I come to make you comfortable. Luke chapter 12, verse 42. And the Lord said, who then is the faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall set over his household to give them portion of food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Of a truth I shall say unto you, that he will set him over all that he had. I want you to underline the word over all that he had. Now this morning, I found great joy in trying to piece this message together, because for me it came second nature. It was something that I always found myself never wanting in this particular environment. I believe that when somebody gives me a task, I would grab them with both hands first. Secondly, I would go and make it my task that will take me from now to eternity, if that's when it's required of me. That I would do it to the best of my ability. And when you try and examine that illustration of both these boys, a good lesson could be taken from Crawford Hill, because he listened and he followed what he read in his mother's Bible. There are some of you that have been reading these scriptures for a long time. There are some of you have not made sense of these words, and you thought that these would remain words for those people that God has called. In the meantime, this is prescribed for every one of you. This is your textbook. This is where you take every word and make it count in your life. Listen, man, I just cannot believe that when God calls you to do something, you can be that lackadaisical. I just cannot understand that. I mean, you think your boss is calling you. You can be lackadaisical for your boss, but you won't, because therein lies your wealth. But when it comes to the things of God, you are easily distracted by everything else, because you realize that this is just service. This is what you do on a daily basis. I mean, God understands. He's a gracious God. But God is calling you to faithfulness this morning, and I'm going to show you through His Word. And unless you take this seriously, you know what? I am so sick and tired of people skidding. I use that colloquial word, skidding. You know, flying by the seat of your pants. You know what that is? Just making it. Somebody gives you an instruction. I don't really need to take it. I'll think when I have the time to do it. I'll consider. Church, I want you to start to put off that kind of lackadaisicalness. I was sitting in a kind of conference, in a mini conference, and they had a motivational speaker from Zimbabwe, and he said this: growth equals change. Growth equals change. Now, he explained it this way, that if you want to see growth in your life, you must change the way you've been doing things that didn't cause you to grow. No rocket science in that, right? You don't need rocket science for that. That means if you are earning $10, okay, let's bring it close to home. If you are earning 1,000 rands a month, okay, the minimum wage is how much? 15,000. You're earning 15,000 a month. And you look at this and say, but hang on, I'm great. No promotional prospects. I'm doing great. For the next 10 years, you progress in that manner, same salary, same place, you haven't moved in your vocation, you was in the same place. Have you grown? Some of you are doubting. If I came to you this morning and said, it's a cloudy day, do you think it will rain? It's cloudy, right? Do you think it will rain? That's how you're treating that question. If you're the same, doing the same thing, getting the same pay, have you grown? No. Now what do you need to grow? You need to change. Change what? Either look for a job, another job that pays better. That is change. Or, for some of you it's a reality, right? Or you need to grow in your personality. You need to tell your boss some good jokes. No. You need to be able to. You need to be able to show him that you're not a joker. You're serious about work. That you do work differently. That you place more emphasis on your work than you do. Change. So growth equals change. And then he says change equals pain. Some people say there's no gain without pain. And some people say you can drink cane to kill your pain. Don't believe everything you hear. But pain is associated with growth, with change. So if you want to grow, there's going to come painful times. Something's going to get a little bit uneasy for you. Something going to make you restless. Something's going to be able to move you into a newer dimension. And it's going to take some pain. The painful thing of sorting out junk in a trunk may not be everybody's cup of tea. But you saw the benefits. The treasure was hidden right deep down. Corrie ten Boom wrote this in Christianity Today. This was an article that Christianity Today, that in their volume number 34, carried this. And it said, a missionary wrote me, sometimes adversity tempts me to discouragement. This is what a missionary said. Sometimes all these trials and tribulations and every enemy that comes against this work of mine tempts me to discouragement in the face of seeming failure. Sometimes I want to give up this work as a missionary. It says, but I take courage and press on anew. I take courage and I press on anew. As I remember that God does not hold me responsible for success. Man, this blew my mind. I'm going to say it in English now for you. He says, I take courage and I press on anew. That means once these adversities come my way, that wants me to fail and give up this ministry, regardless, I press on to as if I'm made brand new. I've been just given this task. Here's the reason. As I remember that God does not hold me responsible for success, but for faithfulness. Jesus didn't say, well done, you successful servant. You'll get it now. Matthew chapter 25, 21. Matthew 25. 21. Faithful with little. His Lord said unto him, well done, good and successful servant. Sorry? You didn't see the word successful. Brother Second? We're reading the same Bible. Okay, let's try again. His Lord said unto him, well done, good and successful servant. Good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over many things. Something wrong with my reading. It must be the wheat fix that I had this morning. Faithful over few things. I will set thee over many things. I will set thee over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. I promise you, this is going to change the face of this church. Next week is going to be our second anniversary. The following week. The second anniversary. I'm never going to see so many faithful people gathered in one room after today. Faithful with a few things. Faithful with little. Did I ever ask any one of you to flash how much you had in your bank balance? To make you qualified to be part of this great work? Have I? Have I asked you to bring your cars and bring your dogs and your possessions and everything else and contributed to this work? Have I? Has the Lord asked you to do that just now, as I'm speaking? It's your possessions. And look at how you hold on to it. Try and if you can only feel what Don and Patricia's dog Colby feels right now when he sees an empty pool. If only you could see that dog's face, knowing that he cannot have everything. He cannot have his cake and eat it. Cannot have his pool and swim in it. That possession we hold too close. It's too close to us. That's why we don't let it go. That's why God does not duplicate it in our lives. That's why God does not set us over all things. Why? Because we hold. We hoard. Come into my garage and you'll see what is the epitome of hoarding is. I have stuff that I brought back from Durban. I just don't have the mind to get rid of it. Some people who come to visit say your house, I think that's what what's her name? Priyanka said yesterday. Your garage looks like dog's breakfast. I'm joking, Priyanka. Pastors mustn't lie from the book. No, she didn't say that, but she just looked and she just saw boxes. But here's the thing. We hold onto our possessions. And we think we got lots. Man, it is a sad day that you don't. I mean, I've got boxes. I don't know whether I have valuable things in them. Two boys saw the same trunk, saw the same junk. One came out being the successor that will run that company. The other one, jobless. Church, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing. I don't know whether I am entertaining you enough this morning, or am I feeding you? I'm not sure. Because if you don't change today, if you don't accept what I'm saying this morning, you're never going to grow. You're never going to have the pain. You're never going to experience what others are experiencing in Christ. God wants to set you over many things. Say to your neighbor, hey, I've got many things in store for me. How about you? Now say to your neighbor, and you worrying about that measly stuff that you call your possessions. Are you learning something this morning? Is this hard? Is this stuff hard? Okay, I'll make it a little bit easier for you. Here's another illustration. My wife says I'm too entertaining these days, now that she's not here. A man came to church one day, and he said it was testimony time. And he stood in front of the church, and he said, I'm a millionaire. He said, I attribute it all to the rich blessings of God in my life. Everything I have, I attribute it to God. I can still remember the turning point in my faith. It was like yesterday. I earned my first dollar, and I went to a church meeting. And that night the speaker was a missionary who told us about his work. And I knew that I only owned $1. I just got it. So I decided I'm going to give this $1 to God. And I believed that God blessed that decision that night. And because of that, today I'm a millionaire. Man, the entire crowd went wild. They were excited. And everybody was moved by this testimony. $1 that moved this man to become a millionaire. And so whilst he was so chuffed with himself, he decided to take his seats. And as he took his seat, the lady from behind him, an old, scraggy old lady behind him, sorry, there was an old lady, leave the scraggy out. There was an old lady sitting behind him in the pew. She leaned over and she said to him, wonderful story. I dare you to do it again. Here's the truth of the story. $1 was easy to give. Million? Come on, church. Come on, just think with me this morning. To give $1 is easy. But wait. The widow with 2 mites. Jesus said she gave more than anybody all of them put together. But it was 2 mites. Let's bring it a little bit further away from us. We don't make half cents anymore. It was 2 cents. Sorry, I even told you that it takes 11 cents to make 1 cent. That's what it costs. 11 cents to make 1 cent. That's why they're going to get rid of 1 cent. So sorry for those of you who go to game and get something for $8.99. Okay. So what's going to happen? Shut up, I must cut this entertainment out. It's getting bad. Look at the work of 2 cents. It was everything she had. She emptied her purse into that. She emptied everything she had into that offering. It was the same as a billionaire being able to give his millions into the offering. I want you to get the big picture. Faithful with a few, so that God can entrust you with many. Faithful with a little. And so, I'm even excited about faithfulness, but I told you, growth is painful. So is faithfulness. It can be very costly. Imagine how costly that it cost Abraham to leave his abode with a knife, with some wood, to go to a far-off land, to be able to slaughter and sacrifice his only son. Took some faithfulness, right? But just look at Abraham, the father of faith. God told him to get out of the land. Leave it, just get out, move out. Abraham was making it in this land. God called him to move out. Church, God is calling you right now to move out of your lackadaisicalness. And you think you are already established, you have arrived, and man, you are doing well for yourself. God said, get out. The Bible says that Abraham prospered greatly when he went to a land that was foreign to him. It takes faithfulness, church. When God is saying, get out of the slumber. When God says, leave what you think is causing your richness. Man, some of you are holding on to this job for your dear life. In the meantime, God wants you to give this thing up because it is the same thing that's causing you to walk backwards, not growing. I don't know who God is speaking to today. God is calling you that is unemployed out of your state of unemployment, because this is the same thing that's bringing your wife and your children to poverty. Same thing. But you know what? You are holding on to this good life. You don't have to get up in the morning. You don't have to do anything. This is life, man. Get out! Hey, God called Abraham. Takes faithfulness. Esther. It cost Esther her life. She went and she summons right now. If the king came to know, her life would have been taken from her. Faithfulness towards the children of Israel. She put a cause before the king. It cost Daniel to be cast into the lion's den. Faithfulness, man. You won't bow. You tell the king. It cost Abednego, Shadrach, and Meshach. It caused them. Sorry. Don't worry about the offering. Gerard, for the offering. The offering is not gonna make this church rich. What is going to make you rich is what I'm going to say to you. So I don't want any distractions. Because this is serious. This is going to help you grow. I'm never going to be able to have enough money to give you to make you rich. But what I'm giving you today, you'll never be poor. Church, if you take literally what I'm saying to you, you will never be poor. So don't worry about money. Don't worry about the money. It took It cost Daniel being cast into the den of lions. It cost Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego a walk through fire. Because they refused to bow. Because they were faithful to God. It cost Paul his life. Does it cost you anything this morning to be faithful to the Lord and King? Does it cost you anything? Does it cost you anything? I think I've fast spent my time. It has to go to part 2. I'm going to talk about why should I be faithful? Why should I be faithful? And I can guarantee you this morning I'm going to give you 1,000,001 reasons why. But I'm going to sum this up for you this morning. What does it cost you? I said with growth will bring change. And with change, it will bring pain. Have you ever noticed when you progress to another job, did you know it? Did you know how to play the drums before? Painful, right? When I'm saying count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you're thinking, no, where did this guy arrive? I mean, I learned ta, ta, ta. I mean, she was telling me. Change is going to be painful because it's going to allow you to think harder. I could see the pain of Priyanka's face yesterday. The frustration of not getting the beat in time. And only in time can she play the drums. Then I showed her, what happens if you don't play in time? What's going to happen to the rest of the musicians that are following? You are keeping the beat. Then Greg is coming. Right? He's going off because you suddenly stopped or you suddenly sped up. And Jared is trying to get a piece and then you starting to come on your own beat here. But let me bring it close to home for you this morning. I used Priyanka this morning because there are lots of lessons I learned from her yesterday. Remember, we grow every day by learning. Here's the thing. How many know that because you're not faithful, because you are not in step, remember music is about stepping. It's about stepping. You step into a beat. If you step out of a beat, what happens to the rest of the musicians? It sounds like noise. Won't be music. It'll be chaos. Okay, some of the pieces this morning sounded a bit chaotic, to say the least. But here's the thing. They're learning. That's why stepping into the beat and counting and understanding that if I step out of time, if I step out of faithfulness, what will happen to me and the rest of me that's in this church? While I speak this message this morning, what can it bring to you this morning if each of you would step in time and say, I mean, Sunita, I said that the other day. Nobody told her to go get water, to change the water, wash the plate, the glasses. Nobody told her. She stepped into time and saw it as her faithful desire to do something in the church. Some of us would walk past this place and think, that's a nice looking crystal glass container. That's where it belongs. It looks nice on the tray. Nobody noticed there's soil tumblers next to it. Nobody realizes there's water that's actually a couple of days old in it. But we realize it's holding water. Man, faithfulness drive you to a place where you will step in time. You will see stuff. I like that song this morning. When I bow down, I can see clearly the things that I couldn't see when I was standing up. I can see it now. You know what? I didn't realize that that song just fitted my message. Because from here, everything looks, I've got my rose tinted glasses, everything looks okay. I take off my rose tinted glasses. Or when I get down to there, I see, man, somebody is playing out of tune here. Somebody is singing in the wrong key. Somebody is not coming to church faithfully. Hey, sorry. Let me stop it. Let me stop it right here. I want you to bow your heads quickly. Father, have mercy. Have mercy on us, your dear children. Because, Lord, what we didn't know, make us to stay ignorant. I thank you, Lord, for your word that declares the truth in our lives, that gets us into a behavior, Lord, that is pleasing because that behavior, Lord, is changed with knowledge and knowledge of your word. I pray this morning that, Father, those that have taken this word would not only take this word personally and apply to their very own souls, but they would go and enact this word and make it become a living word in their environments, wherever they stay, wherever they work, wherever they, Lord, at the marketplace, wherever, that they will tell somebody about your goodness, about your faithfulness that endures forever and ever. And because faithfulness, oh Lord, is your innate characteristic, you marvel when we ourselves put on faithfulness. Yes, faithfulness is costly, Lord. It costs us to talk to somebody about you. It costs us to be faithful. It costs us something to come here week after week to learn these things that you've imparted to us. It costs us, Lord. But I believe, Lord, that in this pain comes growth. And Lord, that we move from mediocrity to being extraordinary. I pray this morning, won't you change the lives of men and women that are gathered? Won't you make us move, Lord, to greatness? Because you call us as children of the Most High. You call us a peculiar people. You call us a royal priesthood. And yet, Lord, we look at the little that we have and we feel so high and mighty about ourselves when you set us above many. Father, have mercy upon us and use us this day in Jesus' name. Amen.